Folks, you did it. You've made it to the end of another week. Happy Freaky Friday from the Podcast Daily. That is Bill Landis and Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward, and we've talked so much about roster management and where things have happened since the end of the season. Let's put a fantasy Freaky Friday spin on it. How about you can take any player from the Ryan Day era and put them on this roster to get ready for 2024. All right, that's the concept. Let me give you 4 seconds to think about it while I keep talking, and then I'm going to decide that Berm is going to go first.
Paris Johnson. I win.
That's the end of the show.
I mean, okay. Let me fight. Let me back.
How
off.
about this? Because we're all going to take Paris Johnson. Let's talk about why it's Paris Johnson, and then we'll pick somebody else.
Okay.
Bill, do you want to talk about why it's Paris Johnson?
No, you can talk about why it's Paris Johnson. Go ahead.
I mean, it's obvious why it's Paris Johnson. He's the best offensive lineman Ohio State's had since like Taylor Decker, and the best, maybe like most talented, like highest upside offensive lineman Ohio State's had in the program since Orlando Pace. So like, seems pretty much a no-brainer to me. We saw, on Wednesday night, Jeff Halfway take the job with the Green Bay Packers as a defensive coordinator there and opening up the Boston College roster for other people to begin poaching / dreaming about. And all of a sudden Twitter was a flutter with people being like, oh, they have an offensive tackle there. And like, he's pretty good, I guess. But like, I'm sure Ohio State will kick the tires and see if it's the right fit, if that gentleman wants to enter the transfer portal. But it's obvious that outside looking in, the right tackle situation for Ohio State is the biggest problem heading into 2024. At least I think that's what it is, because I think you could make an argument that CJ Stroud on this team is like a surer bet for a national title than Paris Johnson. But I'll let you talk about that, Austin, when you say CJ Stroud next, because it seems like the Paris Johnson's a no-brainer.
The thing about Paris or Taylor Decker, though, is like, you could put them at left tackle and like move Josh Simmons back to right tackle, where he played at San Diego State, and there's probably more of a natural position for him than left tackle is. It's not merely adding an All-American offensive tackle to the roster, which would be tremendous, whichever one of those two guys you pick, or Orlando Pace, I guess, if you want to go back that far. If we can go back
I didn't say any Ohio State player. They did have to play for Ryan Day.
Okay, then it's definitely Paris Johnson. But that allows people to like slot into more natural positions, I think, too, on top of just adding a very talented player to the roster. So like, yeah, that's the glaringly obvious one.
I wanted to blend like a little bit of analysis about the strength of the roster, even though we've done that with this, like, obviously more fun Freaky Friday exercise. And I thought maybe we'd be able to bounce around with more than one. Maybe we should have done a draft, and then we would have had to not all take Paris Johnson first. But I agree. I think that the largest talent gap would be from whatever happens in March and April at right tackle to Paris Johnson, who we called a generational prospect the second that he committed to Ohio State, and he lived up to that throughout his career. I think everybody watching the Podcast Daily knows that we believe strongly in Paris Johnson. We believed strongly in Paris Johnson's ability, and then he paid that off and became a top 10 NFL draft pick and starter right away at that level. So I do think that we have also talked about the ability that Ohio State may have to get through March and April and then reassess on if it has to do something like it did with Josh Simmons last year, because of Tegra Shabola, because of Luke Montgomery, because of the possibility that Josh Fryer could still play right tackle, and then you have a different conversation at guard. I don't know which one is more likely than not, but I do know that if Paris Johnson was on this roster, obviously that would be a very easy decision.
Okay, so let's adjust on the fly here. Paris Johnson's pick number 1. I've selected first. Bill, who's pick number 2?
So can I just like pick guys that I think are interesting rather than just picking like guys based on how talented they were?
Maybe you can do whatever you want.
Okay. And that's not to say that this guy... Sorry,
if I make up the rules for a game and a question, you guys don't get any time to prepare, then we'll do whatever we want.
Well, I only ask because like obviously you would draft the college version of Chase Young a lot, 10 times out of 10 probably. But defensive end's not necessarily like it's not a glaring need for this team. I think I would take Luke Farrell.
God, what?
Interesting.
This is getting away from me in a hurry.
Is that because you were going to take that, or because I'm way off base?
No, because I was very intrigued about taking a tight end, and I thought that I could do that. But I should know better after working with you two guys for this long that I should just go first if I have people I want to name that might be surprising.
Yeah, like I mean, Luke Farrell was not a prolific receiver here, although I think he could have been. Just like an excellent blocker at the position. I really think, like, as I've thought more about the Ryan Day era, like the tight end blocking after Luke Farrell left, I think has been quite bad. And I know there's been fans who have expressed similar sentiment, and maybe I've been a little slower to come around to that. I just don't think it's been very good. And Luke Farrell was great at it. And if you're telling me that I can add a guy to the roster who, one, like fills the void left by Kate Stover to be tight end one, but two, I feel like you can trust similarly to like a high level offensive lineman, both as a run blocker and a pass blocker, that I think this offense really needs to kind of take it into another gear, especially in a world where Bill O'Brien is the offensive coordinator. Like maybe I'm not saying he's going to throw the ball to the tight end more, but historically he does like to play with two tight ends a lot and feature that position in a number of ways. I would like to have the guy that I think is maybe the most complete tight end that they've had during the Ryan Day era. Like Jeremy Ruckert and Kate Stover were better receivers. I don't think either one of them was close to as good of a blocker as Luke Farrell is. And I think Luke Farrell was probably an underrated receiving threat as a tight end. So I think he'd be a tremendous addition to this current roster.
I think it's a good pick.
It is a good pick. It's a very good pick. I think I could talk myself into tweaking it a little bit. And that is if we believe that Will Kazmarek is more advanced and he talked about putting his, nose into the business and getting dirty and handling the blocking stuff. If that part is true, then maybe there's a world where Luke Farrell isn't as valuable to this particular Ohio State offense as sophomore version of Jeremy Ruckert would be. And, before the final year of Jeremy Ruckert, where the drops came in and it looked like maybe there was more attention being paid to off the field stuff. I don't mean to send strays at Jeremy Ruckert, but the version that was so dangerous and looked more like that wide receiver, and when partnered next to Luke Farrell, was able to still make some really good blocks, but that didn't have to be his primary responsibility. Maybe he would make more sense in that regard than Luke Farrell, who I think a ton of, and do think he could have been more used in the passing attack than he was with Ohio State. But there's a lot to like about Will Kazmarek, the way that he talks about his own game, the way Ohio State has evaluated his film. And if he could do maybe the Farrell things, then Jeremy Ruckert might be the way to go. And I think I could talk myself into that and pivot away from Luke Farrell. So I have. It's done. I've done it.
Ruckert is the pick. He's turned in the card.
Kazmarek does have a Farrell quality to his game. Feral.
Yeah.
Wow.
I knew when I said it that it sounded like it worked on multiple levels.
So who's your pick, Austin?
I'm gonna tweak it a little bit because I wanted to take a tight end, but the next best one available, I think I could talk myself into that version of Jeremy Ruckert being a better fit for this team.
Great. So I get to pick Harris Johnson and Chase Young. My team is dumb. I don't care if Ohio State has a need at defensive end. When you have a player who's like a collegiate version of Chase Young, as he was the best player in the country in 2019, also, I'm not taking Chase Young because guess what? I'm taking Nick Bosa 2018 before he got hurt. And yes, he did play for Ryan Day for 3 games.
Wow. Oh, wow. Holy cow.
Dang.
He only realized halfway through the answer.
He sure did.
I'm just saying, you can look at this current group and JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer and Kenyatta Jackson and Caden Curry and Mitchell Melton and all these guys and think that there's a lot of upside and a lot of really solid, like steady play, especially with JT and Jack and the way that they set the edge and the way they play the run. But when you look at this back half of the Ohio State defense and you look at this secondary, if you put an elite pass rusher in this group, it's lights out. It's bye-bye. It's bedtime for baby. Okay. We're talking elite, historically great defense, like not just at Ohio State, but in college football. So you give me either Nick Bosa. If you don't want to give me Bosa because of the asterisk on how he actually played for Ryan Day, that's fine. Then give me Chase Young, and I'll still get a Heisman finalist out of defensive end. So that's a clear cut, no brainer answer. I would have thought Jordan Fuller until 3 weeks ago when Caleb Downs is on this team now. So
yeah, it's nice you can just pick both of the best defensive ends in one pick. That's how convenient for you.
Hey man, it's Friday.
Feeling the
goes.
vibes. Feeling the Friday vibes.
Do I get to pick somebody else now?
Yeah, and you can take Nick Bosa or Chase Young because Firm can't have them both.
I mean, there are definitely guys like that you could add to this roster, of course. I guess I would like to, for this pick at least, to keep it like still in the area of what I consider needs, and I would take Wyatt Davis. Like the 2019 version of Wyatt Davis, I think. And it's not, I think Ohio State could end up with pretty good guard play on both sides of Seth McLaughlin this year. Obviously, Donovan Jackson is there. And like, if it's Josh Fryer kicking inside, if it's Tegra Shabola ready to rock, if it's Luke Montgomery or Carson Hinsman, takes the guard a little bit better than he took the center. I think all those could be answers and potentially pretty good ones for Ohio State. But I know that Wyatt Davis is an All-American, and it's odd to me that his pro career has just like not worked out because I thought he was a very good college offensive lineman and thought he was at least like early in his career, he to me looked like the kind of guard you would even consider drafting in the first round. And that didn't happen for him, but that shouldn't take away, I think, from what he was when he played at Ohio State. And if I can get, I think significantly more peace of mind knowing the caliber of guard that I'm definitely going to get, and like really shoring up the interior of that offensive line, I would take Wyatt Davis and put him on this roster.
I have a similar viewpoint to that as well. I'm just going to piggyback off of all your answers today, Bill. But if Ohio State was so unsure about center, and we like Seth McLaughlin, we think that was a good addition. The performance in the Rose Bowl feels like more of an aberration than anything. But if you could put Josh Myers in play here, and the veteran version, and the leadership, and the captaincy, and all those things, maybe that's it. Seth McLaughlin has played a lot of games, and I think that's going to fit very well for Ohio State. The guy played for 4 years at Alabama. He's pretty good. He was a starter for 2 years at Alabama. That doesn't generally happen by accident, but I would still say that there's a little bit of unknown even in that situation because he's coming in and learning a new system. And again, how different is it? How those responsibilities, if he could play guard, would that be helpful for Ohio State? I don't know. But Josh Myers, I think, would qualify as a pretty clear-cut upgrade for what Ohio State has right now. And maybe by the end of April, there will be no reason to say, hey, that's an uncertainty for Ohio State. They've got something that's locked up and good to go. But I think it's fair to like at least have an open mind about it, that they went out, they felt like they had to do that in the short term to bridge the gap at center. They do have someone with a lot of experience, but I don't know. I until we see something new and with Ohio State and can wash out the bad taste in the mouth for him and for anybody who watched the Rose Bowl, I think center can still remain part of the conversation for Ohio State. Maybe even needs to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, I would not. There's a lot to like with Seth McLaughlin's body of work. The Rose Bowl obviously wasn't his best outing, but it's not a slam dunk edition. I think I think if you're asking me, like, I think it's an edition that's going to work out, but certainly it's one that comes with questions. And I would take any one of the three interior offensive linemen from that 2019 offensive line. That whole line was good, but the combination of Jonah Jackson, Josh Myers, and Wyatt Davis was just excellent. And I think they've kind of been searching for that since then. Like they've been okay at I think generally okay, and in certain spots, like still pretty good. But the collective three in the middle, I don't know that they've matched that since that year.
Right.
Okay, so I'll try to be more insightful.
No, here's what's going to happen. Berm is about to take Garrett Wilson.
I'm not. That'd be silly. What I'm going to do.
It'd be silly? Fine, leave me Garrett Wilson. I'll take him.
The answer is Pete Werner. Because the linebacker play at Ohio State last season was a little, ups and down. I was back and forth. I was thinking like maybe we're projecting the 24. Maybe I'd take the 2022 version of Tommy Eichenberg. And then I realized, oh yeah, Pete Werner existed and exists. And he was probably in my life covering Ohio State. So the last 12, 13 years of doing this for a job, I would have him on my list of like most underappreciated Ohio State Buckeye players. He is an awesome NFL linebacker, and he can play any spot the Buckeyes needed him to. And there's no doubt that he's a guy that was much, much more valuable for Ohio State than fans and media ever really recognized. So Pete Werner, putting him out there next to Cody Simon, thumbs up, game over.
Yeah.
I'm dominating this draft.
Bye, baby. Put the baby to bed.
Baby.
I am dominating this draft.
You really are.
Yeah, I would put Malik Harrison in that conversation too. I would think I'd rather have Pete Werner, but Malik Harrison was a very
Malik Harrison didn't play for Ryan Day, you son of a.
Yeah, he did in 2019, man. That 2019 defense was dogs all over the place.
Are you
what
sure?
Are you talking about?
He's also got he's also got a 2018 asterisk if we need to put that in.
That's fine. Okay, because 2019, you're 2020. You're talking Barron and Tuff and Pete. All right, Justin Hilliard, Jay Hill. We'll give it to you.
You'll give me the Malik Harrison
but Pete Werner's a better. Pete Werner's a better choice. America,
I think so.
America, put your vote in now. Which guy makes the most sense for the 2024 Buckeyes? Pete Werner or Malik Harrison?
We'll announce it at the end of the show. Yeah. All right, I'm taking. Can I go?
Couldn't you win with both? I mean,
you could win with both. Yeah. Can I take another one now?
Yeah, you can.
Marv, man, I want Marv back on the team. People probably scream listening to this. Like, can we put Marvin?
Should we eliminate the 2023 team as like
sure? I mean, the
immediate departures.
Let's take 2022 Marv.
Give me 2021 Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Wait? Hold on. I mean, let's try and remove a little bit of recency bias if we can. Do you think it's that clear cut that Marv is better than Garrett Wilson?
He's different.
Well, yeah. I think Marv is better, but it's not like I don't think his world's better, but I think he's better. Yeah.
Okay.
But I would take 2021 Jackson Smith and Jigba over 2021 Garrett Wilson. So,
and then play Mecca outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that too. That sounds great. I'll do that too. Sounds awesome.
Just take all of Ohio State's really freaking good wide receivers and turn them loose at once.
You can't go wrong, really. I think any, and it's not like, obviously, I think Carnell Tate's going to be very good. I like everyone else, think the world of Jeremiah Smith. I'm excited to watch Brandon Innes get more playing time this year. But if you'll give me any of the previous dudes, Marvin, Garrett, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, even like Terry McLaurin would count, right? From 2019.
Yeah.
Was he around 2019 or was he gone?
No, he was already gone.
2018 was his last year. But he did have the 3 game.
Oh, 19 was like Chris Garrett and then like Austin Mack and Ben Victor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, okay. Any of the first round receivers then, and I would include Marv in that conversation. Like, I think they're sure things. They're, you build game plans around them. They terrify defenses. And I think all the young receivers on the roster will get to that point and probably quickly. But I'll take the sure thing now.
I can't believe Marvin turned down $25 million in NIL money to not return.
Get a question as motivation there.
Austin's frozen. It's the perfect time for him to freeze because, the face he's making on the video right now, as he was frozen, was perfect.
He thought that was so funny that you froze his face mid laugh.
Yeah, he was in awe of my comment, and he's like, "I can't move anymore."
Even my computer was laughing. It was like, that's such a great joke. Boy, that hasn't happened in a long time. I'm really disappointed that just happened in the middle of that. I would love the idea of Garrett Wilson and Emeka both having the ability to line up like anywhere. And there was part of that for Ohio State with the slot Marv conversation a year ago. But I just think that would really make heads spin if you saw those two players in that skill set moving forward in this offense. Like, that would be crazy. I don't think it's necessary. I think that was the point that we made. Like, does Ohio State have to do that at wide receiver right now? Probably not. Although they are skewing pretty young and inexperienced at the moment. There's maybe a case that having another veteran presence out there with Emeka would go a long way for this offense. But the only other place where we've talked about how great the secondary is that there may be a chance that you could upgrade is if you replaced Davis and Igbinosun in the starting lineup with Jeff Okudah. Boy, that might be a real headache for quarterbacks. I don't know. They probably would not be allowed to throw on either side of the field with Denzel Burke and Jeff Okudah out there, and that would make it really hard to run an offense.
Yeah, especially with the hybrid Nick Bosa, Chase Young out there on the defensive end. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. I didn't know that this was going to turn into a full draft and you just got to build like the best team of the Ryan Day era.
I'm picking one more player. It's Drew Chrisman.
Okay.
Oh, that's actually really good. Yeah, that's a good pick.
You had to do that before. That's an actual need.
Well,
you cheated. No,
we're on
it's
the luxuries
supplementary
now.
pick. It's the supplementary pick I get for putting up with you guys.
Huh. Well, I guess this team could use a kicker too.
Fine, I'll do it.
Who would that be? Hobbiel, I guess.
First year to Noah Ruggles.
Oh yeah,
pre Hawaiian spring break.
Pre Hawaiian spring break. Noah Ruggles. Yeah.
That version I think would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a good pick.
That's Freaky Friday, folks. I don't know what
we need your choices in the comments. Okay, so make sure you tell us the one player that you would put on this Ohio State team from the Ryan Day era and why it would be an upgrade, aside from the obvious that CJ Stroud would be an upgrade, who did not get drafted in this pick.
I don't consider
drafting NFL Hall of Famers is verboten.
Well, I don't know. It's Justin Fields is pretty good too. You're just automatically taking CJ over Justin Fields?
A backfield with Justin Fields and Quinshad Judkins and Travion Henderson would be pretty freaking fun to watch. Yeah.
I mean, but now we're just getting silly talk, like
this whole thing is silly talk.
That's been the whole show. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't know about that. The first couple of picks minus, so if let's start over and go with people who are not NFL first round picks. And then would that be a better show? Should we do that for Monday?
Let's do the same thing over again.
Okay. You just want one more pick. You just want to name, you want your first pick over? We're removing Paris Johnson from the equation.
Well, no,
you
because
can't have
some of
Sam Hubbard, just so you know.
Some of them are so obvious that I feel like we're maybe taking some low-hanging fruit. So I do think that there, is a conversation like DeJuan Jones instead of Paris Johnson, for example, would be a reasonable trade out, or like I said, Pete Warner, someone like that, maybe as opposed to a Chase Young, Nick Bosa hybrid in the second round, maybe more realistic.
Oh.
What about like a Devon Hamilton or like a 2020 version of Tommy Togiai?
Or you could also throw the junior version of Haskell Garrett in there.
Yeah, 2019 Haskell.
Yeah, I thought about Devon Hamilton and like the ability to plug up the run and put him next to his brother and see what happens, just for all of the easy features and storylines to talk about those two. And his final
about
season,
the Hamiltons, baby.
It's like, well, maybe I'm glad that we didn't have that opportunity. His final season, I think, is up there with it's appreciated, but also still a little bit underrated for the impact that he had. Not quite to maybe the Pete Warner level, but that dude was a wrecking ball before he moved on, which is why he was drafted and why he's still playing down in Jacksonville, right?
It's just signed a big new contract. I think you could replace Sayer Munford for Paris Johnson, even if you didn't want to take DeJuan. There's a lot of guys that could fit that aren't first round picks and top 5 picks, which are obvious. But I would since we did this quite lazily, America, and just
Well, wouldn't you would do that with all 4 of those tackles that we didn't like playing at the same time?
Yeah, so
you put
just
Nick Petit Frere, like, cool, yeah, you're taking him too.
yeah, so America, just give us your choices, and we need. Let's go with 3 sentences as to why. Okay.
No, it's not
Okay.
homework.
5 sentences. I need a mini paragraph.
2 words, a first name and a last name, and that will cover it.
Austin doesn't read the comments. I do. So who are you trying to satisfy here?
Oh, you're outsourcing your entertainment?
Yes.
Cool. America, I'm sorry I did this. I thought it might be better than it was, but it's Freaky Friday. We had fun anyway. There were some laughs. My computer froze again. It's a Freaky Friday freeze. For Bill Landis and Jeremy Birmingham, farewell.